Arno, but the two of us were going to do it Bell Labs. When Arno described our Milky Way project, he had said, "You're wasting your time. There's no halo around the galaxy." So Arno described to Bernie our problem. Bernie said, "Call up Bob Dickey at Princeton." As an aside, I've said that it was a good thing that Arno worked for the phone company because he liked to use their instrument. Also, Bernie was something like the internet of the 60s because he made a lot of connections between researchers. Dickey was a very good physicist who had worked on microwave receivers for radar during World War II. Afterward, he became interested in gravity and invented the Brons-Dickey theory as an extension to general relativity. In thinking about where that theory might be needed, he was thinking about an oscillating Big Bang universe, where the universe expands and then has a big crunch and expands again. When it collapsed, he realized it would be very hot and therefore full of electromagnetic radiation. As the universe expanded, the radiation would cool, and by now it would be microwaves. Professor Dickey recruited 2 postdocs. He asked Jim Peebles to calculate the present temperature of what we now know as the cosmic microwave background, and Dave Wilkinson to set up a system to measure it. Jim finished his calculation first, and he had been asked to give a talk at Johns Hopkins. Postdocs don't turn this sort of thing down. He asked if he could talk about his calculations. The others agreed, saying, "We're so far ahead that no one could catch up with us." A friend of Bernie's heard the talk and told him about it not long before Arno called Bernie. Dave Wilkinson reported that they were having a bag lunch in Dickey's office discussing progress when Arno called. They heard the interesting phrase such as antenna temperature, sky brightness during the conversation. And then Dickey hung up the phone and said, "Boys, we've been scooped." A few days later, they came to see our experiment, but Bell Lab's reputation was good enough that they immediately assumed that we had done what we had said. We showed them our apparatus and they described the theory. We agreed to write 2 back-to-back papers describing cosmology and measurement. Perhaps each side thinking that, well, if the other side's wrong, we'll be right. From this simple beginning, the cosmic microwave background has grown to be our best source of information about the early universe. Dave and Jim both have had distinguished careers, Jim winning a Nobel Prize, and Dave might well have had he not succumbed to cancer. On a personal note, on May 20th, 1965, while those 2 papers were in press, 2 things happened. Arno and I were up in the cab. We received a telephone call from Walter Sullivan, the chief scientific reporter of the New York Times. He asked various questions about our measurement. Later that day, my father came for a visit from Texas. The next morning, while Betsy and I were making breakfast, he walked to the pharmacy in Holmdel Village and bought a New York Times. And there on the front page of the Times was a picture of this antenna and an article describing our discovery. A happy time for father and son. I feel very lucky. I had a job at Bell Labs with very generous support and many helpful experts. I started my career when radio astronomy and cosmology were relatively new sciences, but poised to blossom as technology developed. When I entered the workforce, the nation, perhaps shocked by Sputnik, and remembering the contribution of science to winning World War II, understood the value of science for its future, and was willing to spend the money to be the world leader in science and technology. It's been a wonderful ride. Thank you.